The first time I heard my sister say my baby's name, I thought I had misheard her. We were sitting around my mother's dining table, celebrating my sister Emily's baby shower. Everyone was smiling, passing around cake, opening gifts, and talking about the baby who was due in 3 weeks. Then Emily placed one hand over her stomach and smiled. We finally decided on her name. My mother immediately leaned forward. "What is it?" Emily looked at me. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she said it. "Lily." My heart stopped. The room suddenly felt silent. Lily, that wasn't just a name. Lily was the name I had chosen for the baby I lost 4 years earlier. My baby girl. The baby I never got to bring home. I stared at Emily, waiting for her to laugh and say it was some horrible coincidence. She didn't. Instead, she smiled. "Isn't it beautiful?" My mother smiled too. "Oh, Emily, that's perfect." I couldn't breathe. Emily knew. She knew everything. She had been with me when I found out I was pregnant. She had held my hand during the hardest days of my pregnancy. She had been the person I called from the hospital, and she knew I had chosen the name Lily. I looked at her. "You knew that was my baby's name." Emily shrugged. "So?" My voice trembled. "So you chose it anyway?" She rolled her eyes. "It's just a name, Sarah." I felt tears burning behind my eyes. "It isn't just a name to me." Emily leaned back in her chair. "Sarah, your baby isn't here." My mother immediately interrupted. "Please, girls." "Not today." But Emily wasn't finished. She looked directly at me and said something I'll never forget. "You never got to be a mother anyway." The room went completely quiet. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. I pushed my chair back and stood. Nobody stopped me. Not my mother. Not my father. Not even Emily. I walked into the bathroom and locked the door. Then I finally let myself cry. I remembered the tiny pink blanket I had bought, the little white dress hanging in my closet, the ultrasound picture I had kept inside my bedside drawer, and the name written underneath it in my handwriting. Lily. My daughter had never taken a breath outside my body, but she had existed. She had been loved. She had been mine. That night, I drove home alone. When I opened my bedroom drawer, I found the small wooden box where I kept Lily's memories, her ultrasound photo, her hospital bracelet, the tiny blanket, and a handwritten card. I touched the name on the card. Lily. Then my phone rang. It was Emily. I almost didn't answer. "Hello?" Her voice was strangely cheerful. "I just wanted to tell you something." "What?" "Mom thinks you should come to the hospital when Lily is born." I closed my eyes. "I don't think that's a good idea." Emily laughed softly. "Don't be dramatic." "I'm not being dramatic. You've always been overly sensitive about this." I said nothing. Then she added, "You should be happy for me. I'm finally giving Mom the granddaughter she always wanted." That sentence hurt more than everything else, because suddenly I understood. This wasn't a coincidence. Emily hadn't forgotten the name. She had remembered it, and she had chosen it anyway. But what I didn't know yet was that the stolen name wasn't the worst part. It was only the beginning. 3 weeks later, Emily gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. She named her Lily. The family celebrated like nothing had happened. My mother sent me pictures. "Look at your niece." I stared at the photograph for almost a minute. The baby was beautiful. Tiny fingers, soft cheeks, a little pink hat. I wanted to feel happy, but instead, I felt like someone had taken something sacred from me. I didn't blame the baby. She had done nothing wrong. I blamed Emily. And I blamed the people who acted like my pain didn't matter. A week after the birth, my mother invited everyone to dinner. I almost didn't go, but I decided I wasn't going to hide forever. When I arrived, Emily was sitting on the couch holding Lily. She smiled. "Sarah, come meet your niece." I walked closer. She lifted the baby toward me. "Isn't she perfect?" I looked down at Lily. My eyes filled with tears. Not because I was angry at the baby, because for one painful second, I imagined what my own daughter might have looked like. Emily noticed my tears. Instead of comforting me, she whispered, "Still not over it?" I looked at her. "Emily," she smiled. "Come on, it's been 4 years. My mother hurt us. Sarah, you need to move forward." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Move forward? My mother sighed. You can't expect Emily to avoid a beautiful name just because of something that happened years ago. Something that happened. That's what they called my daughter. Something. I stood up. I never asked her to change her daughter's name. Emily looked surprised. Then what's the problem? The problem is that you knew what Lily meant to me. She laughed. You don't own the name? No, I don't. Then stop acting like I stole something from you. I looked around the room. Nobody defended me. So I left. For the next few months, I stopped attending family gatherings. I stopped answering Emily's calls. I focused on my work, my home, my life, and slowly I began healing. Then one afternoon, something unexpected happened. I received an envelope in the mail. There was no return address. Inside was a copy of an old hospital document. My hands started shaking. It was connected to Lily. But it wasn't the hospital record I already had. It was a document I had never seen before. A second page was attached, and at the bottom was a handwritten note. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Emily's. The note said, "She'll never know." My heart began pounding. I read the document again. Then again. Something wasn't right. 4 years ago, I had believed my family had supported me through the loss. But this document suggested someone had known something I didn't. Something about the night my baby died. Something Emily had never told me. I called the hospital. They couldn't discuss everything over the phone. But they told me I could request my complete medical file. I requested it immediately. 3 days later, the records arrived. I sat at my kitchen table and opened them, page after page. Then I found it. A note about a conversation that happened shortly before my delivery. A conversation involving Emily. I read the sentence twice. Then my hands went cold. Emily had been there that night, and she had asked the nurse something about my baby, something I had never known. I kept reading. And suddenly, the name Lily didn't feel like the biggest betrayal anymore. There was a much darker reason behind why Emily had chosen it. And I was finally going to find out what it was. I drove straight to my mother's house. Emily was there with Lily. When she saw me, her smile disappeared. "What are you doing here?" I placed the documents on the table. "I want the truth." My mother looked confused. "What truth?" I looked at Emily. "Ask your daughter." Emily's face went pale. She picked up the papers. Her eyes moved across the page. Then she whispered, "Where did you get these?" "From the hospital." She dropped the papers. My mother picked them up. "What are these?" I looked at her. 4 years ago, Emily came to the hospital while I was in labor. My mother frowned. "Of course she did." "No." I shook my head. "She didn't just visit me." I pointed to the document. She spoke to the nurse about my baby. Emily suddenly stood. "That's not what happened." "Then tell me what happened." She didn't answer. I stepped closer. "You asked whether my baby had already been named." Emily started crying. My mother looked at her. "Emily." She finally spoke. I was scared. "Scared of what?" She wiped her tears. "Sarah, you don't understand." "Then explain it." Emily looked at the baby in her arms. Then she whispered, "I wanted a daughter." I stared at her. "What?" I had always wanted a daughter. My mother looked confused. "You already had plans for a baby?" Emily shook her head. "No, I was pregnant too." The room went silent. I felt dizzy. "You were pregnant?" She nodded. "I lost the baby." I stared at her. "Before I lost Lily?" She nodded again. And you never told me? Emily started crying. Because I couldn't stand watching you prepare for your baby while I had nothing. I couldn't believe it. You were jealous of me? I hated myself for feeling that way. I looked at the document. But why did you ask about Lily's name? Emily lowered her head. Because when I heard you had chosen Lily, I became obsessed with it. Obsessed? I kept thinking, if I ever had another daughter, I'd name her Lily. I shook my head. You could have told me. I was ashamed. And then when you became pregnant again, she nodded. I decided I would use it. My mother whispered, Emily, why would you say those things to Sarah? Emily looked at me. Because I wanted her to stop reminding me of what I lost. I stared at her. So you used my daughter's name to erase my grief? She didn't answer. I picked up the documents. There is one more thing. Emily looked at me. I know you told Mom that my pregnancy was doomed from the beginning. Her face changed. What? I looked at my mother. She told you the doctors said there was nothing that could be done, right? My mother nodded slowly. But that's not what my records say. I placed another page on the table. The doctors wrote that there were complications, but they also documented that I had repeatedly asked for additional monitoring. My voice broke. Emily was the person who told me not to worry. My mother turned toward Emily. Is that true? Emily started crying. I didn't know. You didn't know? I shouted for the first time. You convinced me everything was fine. She covered her face. I thought the doctors would handle it. I stepped back. The truth was finally out. Emily hadn't caused my loss, but she had taken my trust. She had hidden her jealousy. She had used my baby's name. And then she had tried to make me feel guilty for grieving. I looked at my mother. I'm done. Emily looked up. Sarah, please. No. I walked toward the door. Then I stopped. I turned around. You wanted Lily's name so badly. Emily stared at me. So keep it. Her expression changed. But remember something. I held up the little wooden box I had brought from home. My daughter was never defined by her name. I opened the box. She was defined by the love I gave her. Then I walked out. But I wasn't finished. Because there was one final thing I needed to do. I needed to stop letting my family decide what my grief was worth. 6 months later, I stood in a small garden behind my house. I had planted white lilies there. Dozens of them. Every spring they would bloom. I placed a small stone in the center. It had one word engraved on it. Lily. Not my sister's Lily. Mine. The daughter I had carried. The daughter I had loved. The daughter I would never forget. I didn't need to take the name away from Emily. I didn't need revenge through screaming or humiliation. My revenge was becoming someone who no longer needed my family's approval to validate my pain. But life had its own way of balancing things. Emily eventually apologized. Not once, many times. At first, I didn't accept it. Then, one day, she came to my house alone. She stood outside the garden. I finally understand, she said. I looked at her. Understand what? That I didn't steal your daughter's name. She looked at the flowers. I stole something else. What? Your right to grieve. I didn't answer. She continued. I was jealous. I was angry. And instead of dealing with my own loss, I tried to make yours smaller. For the first time, her apology sounded sincere. I didn't suddenly forgive everything, but I listened. Then she said something I never expected. I want you to be Lily's godmother. I looked at her. She quickly added, only if you want to. And if you don't, I'll understand. I looked toward the garden. Then I looked at her. I can't promise I'll forget. I don't want you to. Good. She nodded. I don't want you to forget her. I took a breath. Then maybe we can start over. Not as sisters pretending nothing happened, but as two women who had both lost something and had finally learned how to talk about it. A year later, Emily brought Lily to my house. The little girl was old enough to walk. She ran into the garden. She pointed at the flowers. Pretty. I smiled. Yes, they're lilies. Emily looked at me. I nodded. And for the first time, the name didn't hurt. Because Lily no longer represented what my sister had taken from me. It represented what I had survived. That night, I returned to my bedroom and opened the wooden box one last time. I looked at the ultrasound picture. Then I whispered, "Your name is still yours." I closed the box, and I realized something. My sister had been right about one thing. I never got to be a mother in the way I had dreamed. I never got to hold Lily in my arms. I never got to hear her call me mom. But she was real. My love for her was real. And losing her didn't make me less of a mother. It made me someone who would carry her memory for the rest of my life. Emily could give her daughter the same name. She could say it every morning. She could write it on birthday cards. She could hear it every time her little girl laughed. But she could never take away what that name meant to me. Because some things aren't stolen by repeating them. Some memories belong to the heart, and Lily would always belong to mine.